Hey, welcome back today. Here we go, guys. We're going to talk today about what to do if your business is struggling. So what to do if your business is struggling. You know, they say 50% of all businesses go out of business within 5 years, and I think that number is a lot higher. And I think 75% and higher go out in less than 7 to 9 years. So the question is what to do if your business is struggling itself. So we like to focus on the service-based industries, but this can also apply to about any other business. And if you don't know what a service-based business is, that is more like, could be a plumbing contractor, HVAC contractor, electrical, house cleaner, power washer. You can just go down the list. We're providing services to people. Could be a mechanic, anything like that at all. But the point is most businesses struggle for these very reasons. And let's go ahead and talk about these. Okay, let's have some fun with this. Number one is daily priorities, time management. Think of yourself as an owner. So as an owner, especially when you're in a service-based business and your business isn't very big and you don't have a ton of employees, you don't have a lot of places that you can delegate things out to. As an owner, you need to make sure your time is very prioritized for things that are very, very, very important that you do every single day. I can tell you this, that I built all my businesses based on one thing, based on systems. Systems in the business that allowed me to only have to put in around 10 hours a week. But that 10 hours a week was 10 very important hours I put in each week towards very specific things in that business. That was key to that business's success, longevity, and how well it did function and did not function. I had my things I had to do no matter what I did, and if I did not do those things, the business would start to fail. And I knew those things. And then also when things started maybe going south, then I had to put more time in to make sure we're pulling people back from here, pulling people back from over here, or whatever it was. The point is this, you've got to really manage your time. You got to manage your priorities as a business owner, because you're going to see that when you become a business owner or if you already are a business owner, people are pulling at you all different directions. This person wants this, this person wants this, this person wants this. The thing is there's always going to be a fire to put out, and you shouldn't always have to be that fireman. But now if you're a smaller business, you maybe have to be the fireman all the time as you're starting out and as you're growing and as you're scaling and as you're building. But the point is figure out what fires are important, figure out what things that you need to do personally in order to make things continue to function, continue to grow. Because in almost every case, a business fails for one reason really. It's the owner, the leader. The leader is the cause of almost 99.9% of all business failures. It's always the leader. So when you look in the mirror and you think your business is struggling, well, look at yourself and say, okay, well, I am the cause of why my business is struggling. Every time my business struggled, it was because of me. It was because I was not doing something I needed to do, or I didn't know something I needed to know, or I was not willing, or I just was too ignorant to learn something I needed to learn in order for my business to flow and be successful. That's going to be really important for you to remember that. I hired my first business coaching company in 2011 because I knew my business was here, it was struggling, it wasn't going anywhere. I'm like, why have I plateaued? Why am I stuck? Why am I where I am? It was all because of me. It was all because I only knew what I knew until I knew more. So I spent $25,000 back in 2011, hired a business coaching company. Just like that, in 1 year, in that same year, I generated an additional $500,000 from that $25,000 investment that I had made into my business. But remember this, I was the problem, nobody else. I can't blame the employees, I can't blame anybody else. I can only look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm the leader of this company, I'm the captain of the boat, I'm driving this ship, I'm the problem, and if I don't fix the problem, which is me first, which is sometimes my time, what I know, what I don't know, what I should do, what I shouldn't do, that's going to be a bigger cause of why you fail. Be willing to put your ego aside and say, hey, look, I need to learn some new skills, some new ideas, some new things. My business coach that I'd hired, he had owned 27 different companies. He said, Eric, let me tell you something. If you're not going to do the things I tell you, don't waste your money. Holy cow, he was 100% right. But I was committed to do exactly what he said. And I learned, I applied. And there you go, just like that, I had grown my business like that. And then each year I continued to grow that business. And it was such a phenomenal business because I was willing to learn and put my ego aside and realize I was the problem. So manage your time, manage your priorities, manage the things you know, manage the things you don't know. All these things are going to make a huge difference in regards to your business's growth and your business's long-term success. You're always learning. Remember this, you're always learning, you're always growing, you're always becoming better because these things are key to the survival of your business, okay? So let's move on to number 2, tracking. So Tracking, what are we tracking? Right, I mean, what are we really tracking? We're tracking, these things are important. Tracking our sales, the calls that come into the office, your processes, your systems. So when you think about if your business is struggling, start tracking every single thing that happens inside of your business. Start looking at every single thing that happens inside the business and say to yourself, is this working? Is this not working? Is this right? Is this not right? So let's just start with sales. So if you're not tracking your sales, how do you know if it's going well? How do you know if it's working? How do you know if it's not working? So that's going to be really important for you to remember this, but you need to be tracking these things. We're going to write one thing down here, which is marketing as well. So are you tracking your sales? So a call comes into your office. Who answers the phone? Do you know? How do they answer the phone? Do you know that? How do you track that? How do you measure that? There's got to be a metric built into everything that you do inside your business. You've got to have some kind of systemized approach to track all these different things inside your business to determine, is it going well or is it going bad? Quick example. My wife and I walked into a nice upscale restaurant by where we live. We walked in and we looked at the two people as they were staring at us, and they just kept looking down the whole time. They just looked down, looked up, looked down, didn't acknowledge that we were there. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I'm here at a high-end restaurant where I'm going to spend some money, and yet you can't acknowledge that I'm there. But even the person next to us, they didn't acknowledge that they were there. Even when they said, okay, let me seat you, they kept their head down. They never looked at me. So these are things that I would want to track if I was an owner. I would say, look, they're not creating a great experience for that client, so therefore that client may never go back. Now, granted, I'll probably never go back to that restaurant. The food wasn't that great. The service really sucked, but that's the point. So I'll give you one more example. We had a roofer come out to our house the other day. We had some storm damage from a roof, from some wind. The roofer came out, he looked at it, got up on the roof, did all this, he goes, I'll email you a quote over, or I'll text you a quote over to you this evening. 4 days went by, not one thing. Then he messaged me this morning. He goes, hey, just checking on you. Here's the quote for you. 4 days later, it was raining. Do you think I'm going to wait on someone who did not send that out to me? So think about what they lost. They lost my business for that repair, but they lost all future business because I'll never refer them to anybody, nor will I ever call them back. And he said, well, we were really busy. We just had, okay, great. If you're busy, if you're that busy, then you should have sent me a message that, hey, Eric, we're going to be really busy. We're not going to be able to handle this for you right now, but let me refer you to someone who can handle this for you right now. So you want to make sure you're tracking all these different kinds of things in your business, because this may be why your business is struggling. This may be why your business is not moving in the right direction. This may be why you're losing money, because you've done the marketing to get the sales, you got the call, but the process sucked as far as closing the deal. The deal is really just horrible because they didn't close me, and I was an easy close. I needed my roof repaired. It was going to continue to leak. I needed it repaired immediately, but they didn't do it. So they lost the one-time sale. They lost the lifetime sale. Don't forget that the lifetime sale is way more valuable than the one-time sale, because the lifetime sale means I'm going to refer you to all my friends, all my family, everybody that I know. This is key. So what processes do you have in place to track your sales calls, your marketing? Now, your marketing, is it working? Is it not working? We talk about struggling. Is our business struggling? Is it bleeding financially? And if it's bleeding financially, we need to know why it's bleeding financially. Because it could be this right here, your marketing, or it could be employees. It could be employees as well. So your business could be bleeding by your marketing and your advertising if you're spending money on those, is because let's say you have 2 calls that come in each day that aren't answered. Let's say your phone doesn't get answered twice, but you're spending around $100 per lead. We're just going to give you a round number. So we know for a fact that we spend upwards of $100 per lead in different service businesses. We know we'll spend up to $200 per call, per actual phone call that comes in your office that's an actual legitimate lead. So $100 a call, 2 calls a day. What is that? $200 a day? That's $1,000 a week, $4,000 a month, $48,000 that you just lost. You just bled that out on 2 missed calls a day, or 2 mishandled calls a day. Now, I was doing some coaching with a client, and I called his office just to see how they would answer. I called, they didn't answer. And I just laughed. Okay, great. You're advertising for people to call your business, but yet you're not answering your phone. And then I listened to all their different phone calls. Out of 14 phone calls, they only took care of 2 calls. Either they were not answered or mishandled calls. So think about each call's costing them between $50 and $100 per call. Think about all the money they're bleeding out because they're mismanaging the actual calls. You spent the money, you got the calls. You can't close the sale because you're mismanaging this. So the point is, what processes and systems do you have in place to track these things? We always suggest if you're going to have calls that come into your office that you track every single phone call by recording the phone calls. We use a company called callrail.com for buying tracking numbers that we can put on there for every advertising thing that we do because we want to be able to listen to those phone calls, and it's your responsibility as an owner to listen to that phone call. Listen to it. Get on there, listen to it, see what it is, see what's wrong, see what can be done better. You want to be focused on how you can kill the bleeding, cut it off, put a tourniquet on there, tight as you possibly can, and I mean make this shit stop fast. One last one. Another client we were working with, their business was losing $20,000 a month. That's a lot of bleeding. You're doing $3 million a year, but yet you're losing $20,000 a month. That's huge. That's because they did not understand the processes and systems that need to be in place to manage the employees. They didn't manage the pricing. They didn't manage the structure as to how they price their business, as the things that they were doing. They were billing out all this time, but not charging for the time they were billing out for those employees. They were losing around 20 hours a week, every single week for these employees. They were losing time. So you've got to really manage and track everything that goes into your business. You need systems, you need processes, because your employees depend on systems and processes in order for them to be successful. It makes all the difference in the world for your employees to have a good system and a good process to follow, but it also makes it easy for you as an employer to manage the struggle inside your business because it allows you to function in a much better way. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. Goals. So does your business have any goals? Do you have any actual goals for your business that allows you to have something to shoot for? In our businesses, all of our service technicians always had goals. Say, look, we want you to be here, here, here. We knew that we needed to hit this target every single day, every single week, every single month in order for us to be above board with our numbers. We needed to make sure our technicians were hitting their goals. So more importantly, what the goals is everyone on board with the goals. You know how many people are not on board with goals right here? You know why they're not on board almost all the time? Let me tell you why they're not on board. Because they don't know what the goals are. You know who knows what the goals are? The owners. The leadership. They're the only ones who know what the goals are. So if they're the only ones who know what the goals are, how do you expect anybody else to reach those goals? You've got to be able to share those goals and create an accountability measure. Remember, we go back to processes and systems. You create accountability to make sure they're reaching those goals. And how are you doing that? You're tracking everything that each person in your business is doing to determine, are they bringing the value we need them to bring in order for our business to be successful, to be solid, and to actually continue to function as a business. That's important for you to understand. So we look at this, we look at training. So if your business is struggling, ask yourself this one question. Are you training the people in your business to do what you need them to do to reach the goals in order for them to be successful, in order for your business to be successful? Are you training them? So we look at 3 things. You can't blame your employee. You can't blame anybody but yourself as a leadership, as an owner, because it all starts here with you and then it comes down. If you delegate it out, you can hold them responsible, but you can't hold them responsible if you've not shared with them exactly what it is you want them to accomplish. So we ask 3 questions all the time. Does the employee know what's expected of them? Have they been clearly shown exactly what you want them to do? That is so important. Because if they don't know what's expected of them, how do you expect them to meet an expectation if they don't know what it is you want them to actually do? Now, have they been trained to do what's expected of them? More people are never trained in how to do what's expected of them, but they're just told, okay, go do this, just go figure it out. Just if you can't be a self person where you can just go figure this shit out on your own, then you probably shouldn't be here at all. It's the stupid shit you hear from people all the time that make no fucking sense at all. You need to train your employees in how to do what you want them to do. You can't just expect them to do it all by themselves. Well, I need you to be a self-starter. Well, I am a self-starter, but I also need to understand how you want me to do this, what processes you want me to use, what systems you have in place for me to do these processes, and all these different things. Because if you've shown them what they need to do, now you need to make sure you properly train them thoroughly in what to do. So how do you know they were trained thoroughly? How do you know they were properly trained? How do you know they really were trained to make sure that they were actually ready to do the things that you wanted them to do? Well, just like this. You ask them, do you understand? These are the things that we expect. This is what we've trained you on. Do you understand what is expected of you and how to do it? And then you have them sign something that says, I do understand. I agree to work on these goals and to do this. You just create a simple agreement with them. They've agreed that they understand, they know what to do, how to do it, and all these different, and then you can hold them accountable moving forward. So question number 3 is we always ask this, right? So number 1 was what? Number 1 is, you remember that? You remember what it was? No? Okay, here we go. Remember, number 1 is always, do they know what's expected of you? Number 2 is always, have you trained them to do what's expected of you? Number 3 is always this one last thing, are they willing? So are they willing to do what's expected of them? Because if you've done 1 and 2 and they're not willing, then at this point you have to make the decision, are they the person we need to keep on the team? Do they need more training? Do they just not understand? Is there something that we're missing here? But if they're not the right person, move them off the team, put someone on the team who's going to help you succeed. Having the wrong person on the ship, I promise you, is going to sink your boat faster than anything else. Because that one wrong person, if you allow them to stay, is going to start affecting everybody else. And all of a sudden, your business is going to start crumbling, and you don't even realize it's happening under your feet. I had a supervisor years ago, paid him pretty good money, paid him like $110,000 a year salary, and all he did was talk shit. He was talk shit about me. He was responsible for training our employees, our new hires, but all he did was talk shit about the leadership and the owners. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying you a good wage to be here, to do what you do, for our industry that we're in, and yet all he did was run the leadership down. We weren't crude, we weren't rude, we were really good to them. He was sabotaging our company and we didn't even realize it. So we had to make a decision very quickly. Keep him, train him, or get rid of him. We got rid of him instantly because he was an infection we had to kill. But you have to figure this stuff out and make sure you're doing the right things to track. Remember, if you have a process in place, systems in place, you can manage these things a lot easier. And we learn how to create simple systems and processes and put them in place to where we can manage this a lot easier, to where we didn't have these things happening behind our backs. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, guys? Adjust your pricing. Sometimes you need to do a cost analysis to your business. You need to really determine, what is my true cost of doing business? Am I charging what I should be charging based on actual cost of doing business, or am I just charging what I'm charging based on industry standard, or what I think I should charge based on like, oh, I feel bad, I can't charge that much money? Well, let me tell you this. Your business has a set structure of cost built into it. You have to charge based on your actual cost of doing business to know how to break even and then to get a profit. If you're not doing what you need to do and figuring this part out, you may be undercutting yourself and charging way too little, and therefore that's why you're not making it up, and that's why your business is struggling. You can have all the sales in the world, but if you're not charging the right amount of money, well, it doesn't do you a lot of good at all. All it does is hurt your business long-term and short-term in every possible way, and you're like, wonder, why am I struggling? So adjust your pricing. Stop, look at your pricing, and ask yourself, am I charging enough money? Do I need to raise my prices 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%? What do I need to raise my price? And don't be afraid to raise your prices and be more expensive if you have to be. If your cost is determined upon that, you need to do that. You need to really focus on raising those prices. When you do the analysis, you're going to really understand very quickly what you need to do. If you don't know how to do it, get with your CPA. Get with a good CPA who specializes in small businesses or just in business and say, hey, look, these are my cost of doing business. This is where I am. This is what we're making. This is where we're struggling. Can you help me figure out what I should actually be charged based on actual cost and expenses? All these things are important. Go to your CPA and don't be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help is going to help every single one of you make all the difference in the world. It's going to help every person here just make a huge difference. Don't be afraid to ask for that help. Ask for the help because it's the right thing to do for your business. You don't want your business to fail because of you, because your ego or your unwillingness to ask for help. Just ask for the help. Okay, number 5 is this, leadership. All right, so leadership, we talked about leadership. Remember we talked about at the very start, you're the problem. You're always the problem. Number 1 is you. You can't blame anybody else but you, the leader, the one who's guiding the ship, directing the ship, the captain of the ship. You are the one who's the problem, always. If it's not working, start it with you. Look in the mirror and say, hey, what do I need to know? Who do I need to know? What do I need to learn in order to make this ship go better, faster, in a very much clearer direction? So it always starts with you. One of the biggest things I teach people is to delegate. Well, but we hear this all the time. Well, but nobody can do it as well as I do. Well, maybe nobody can do it as well as you do. But if you can get them to do it around 80% of how you do it, I guarantee you they can be really good at what they do if you can just train them. Remember, we talked about train. Here we go. Let me circle this for you guys. Okay, ready? Look at this. Train, delegate, leadership. Right there. All those things are important. You're the leader, you delegate, and you train. You make sure they understand what it is you want them to do and how you're going to guide and direct them. You're going to, remember this, put in processes and systems with training so you can allow those people that you delegate things to become very successful in the roles you want them to be successful in. Let's say you have a sales manager, but they don't really know what their expectations are. They don't know what the metrics are that you need them to meet. They don't know what the numbers are where you need them to be. They don't know these things. Well, that's on you. You just need to figure that out. No, that's on you, the leader, to sit down with your team. If you're here, you have a sales manager here, service manager here, whatever it is you have in your business, in what areas, you need to make sure each person knows the big picture, the goals, where we are, what we're doing, and why we're doing it, and why it's so important to hit these specific revenue goals in order for your business to stay in business. Now, it's always good to sit down with your entire team and say, hey guys, look, this is where we are. This is what we did last month. We were a little bit under. We lost $20,000 this last month. And we're going to focus on creating, we have these new goals. We're going to focus on creating these revenue benchmarks for each person. We want you guys all to participate in that. Now, understand this. Some people are not motivated by money. You can offer them money. They're not motivated by money. You've got to figure out what works in your company, what the company culture is, in order to get everybody in the right direction, going in the right place. This is going to make a huge difference for your company. So let's just recap here, guys. Okay, look. Daily priorities, manage your time well. Manage your time well. Make sure your time that you spend every day is doing things that are going to drive your business to the next level. Drive your business to be profitable. Make sure your time is spent well doing those specific things. And only you know what those things are for your specific business, but I can guarantee you this, doing stupid little things every single day that don't bring money into your business, you're wasting your time. Manage your time. Tracking. Track every single call that comes into your office, track every single call that comes through your employees, and create processes and systems that your employees can live by and work with. Make sure you're tracking your marketing. It's important to do. Okay, goals. Set up goals for your business. Set up goals for your employees. Set up goals for each person, for each area of your business. Have goals for it. I don't care if it's an accountant or if it's a secretary or if it's a CSR. Everybody needs a goal to work towards, something that they can work towards on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and a yearly basis, okay? All right, next one is adjust your pricing. As you're always going through business each week, each month, each year, I always suggest every quarter, look at your costs. Have my costs raised? Have my costs gone down? Do I need to adjust my costs? Do I need to raise my prices? Do I need to do something to make sure we're staying solvent as a business? Do it quarterly. Leadership, make sure you as the leader, you delegate and you train. You delegate and you train. You delegate and you train. People are smart enough, people are good enough to do exactly what you do, and sometimes even better, but the point is don't be afraid to delegate these things out to other people. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Eric Rios. I love helping people out do this. We can't wait to see you in the next video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below. Love you guys.